Hey fellow Vault Dwellers, it's Angry Turtle, and today I have for you the Feral Ghoul build. But I will do it in a little bit different order, because Feral Ghoul has a very specific gameplay mechanics and how you go over it. So we'll start from demonstrating them, and then I will go over perks and special. Therefore, we are outside of Super Mutant's place, so I can demonstrate. And no, I'm not running any food or temporary boosters. It's just the build itself. Important boost, of course, comes from the fact it's a feral ghoul. So feral bonus in here. Feral strength, 150% melee damage, which is significant. The drawbacks are significant too. Losing health, a lot of health because endurance is hit as well. Max AP, gun accuracy minus 300%. But the damage bonus is really nice. And with the rebalance to a lot of perks and weapons, it is a very powerful build to play a feral. Is it number 1 DPS? It is not. But you don't need any ammo. You don't need to carry around expensive Gauss minigun. You don't need to worry about VATS. You just swing whatever melee weapon you like. And I'll be showing you each and every weapon I'm using. So first, this is Ultra Sight Terror Sword. It cannot be customized. It drops from the raid. And it is how it is. It can be crafted. The plan you will learn, so it can be crafted. You cannot change anything about it. And that's a nice legendary here. You can see there is quite a significant dot. It doesn't apply smoothly to the health bar, but the dot is very substantial and long-lasting. So regardless about regular mobs, how much health they do have, and you can heal those explosions. That's a bloody mess perk. Sometimes they do explode when they die, especially when they die from a dot and not instantaneously from the first swing. So that's the Terror Sword. This one exploded too. But what if you don't have such a fancy legendary? What if you have all rise? I know it shows 5-star, but that's a quest reward that is actually a 1-star. Gives weightless and extra health. So not really something legendary, it's something accessible very early. And yes, I know I have torn armor that is perfect, but still it doesn't change too much. Torn armor adds a little bit of a bleed, and I have strength on it, so it does add a little bit of damage. But it will be similar damage without it. Just to prove it really quickly, I will unequip armor. So I have under armor only. That's the damage. So yeah, I know I have 4-star torn armor on me, but without it, I'm doing almost the same damage, and sometimes one swing killing them if taking one for the team will be active. So no, it's not the 4-stars that are carrying this build, it's the Feral Ghoul. That's what carried this build. Now, very cool thing, Iceman's was reworked, so now I can have ice damage on any weapon I want, and it's a multiplier. It's adding 20% to the weapon base damage, which is quite substantial. And this auto axe is anti-armor. Honestly, prefix matter like the least. In case of those melee weapons, prefix is the least important. For whatever reason, but that's the math followed. Prefix is the least important of all the effects that your weapon can have. So it's anti-armor, juggernauts, very universal mutants. Does not matter much. Anti-armor helps a tiny bit on bosses because the cryo damage is relatively low, and usually cryo resistance on enemies is relatively high. So yes, anti-armor can help a little bit. It's not much, unfortunately. If you fancy a full freeze, so that's a Warglaive with Trident skin, and with cryo damage added, and cryo damage mod. So cryo blade with Iceman's. That's for ultimate freezing effect. Very freezing swing. So after one swing, they already slow, and look at them, it's falling down in slow motion. And my glow manages itself, what is perfect. Here we have branding iron, modified with pyromaniacs for a change, so more damage to burning targets. You may notice my health is basically self-sustaining. Every time I swing on enemy, I'm getting my glow back. Therefore, I don't need to worry about health at all. That's really nice about this build. Zero worry about health. About all weapons work. Whatever you will figure out. Okay, let's see that. So that's a bloodied cultist piercer. So currently I have 0 bonus from the bloodied. It's not customized. It's how it's dropping. It does have a sharp mod, but legendary effects are as is as when it drops. Will that do good damage too? It will. Not as great. It will be better if I would customize it, but still there is a bleed and they do die. So the dot do help a lot. You may notice that's the dot, that's the bleed. And in case of cultist piercer, it's applying really well. That's a legendary, so we can see it better. Because when they are firing at me, they're taking damage from ricochet as well. So that's the amount of damage that bleed does. So it more than doubles the total damage I'm doing. And on adventure servers, yes, the application is very inconsistent. So sometimes they die super fast, sometimes they die a little bit more slowly. And that's the drill fist. It's working really well too. And yeah, they're exploding thanks to bloody mess. So very good dot amounts. Like drill fist has very fast fire dot. That's what killed them so fast. And longer bleed dot. Quite handy. What about the #1 dot weapon if you fancy more dot? So Headhunter Scythe, that was a season reward, cannot be customized, but comes with a very high dot. Equipped with sharp mod. Legendary effects cannot be changed, but as I said, prefix doesn't matter. On all my weapons, I'm using weapon speed, that's good. I'm already using weightless on my weapons, that's great. So, the one thing that's missing here, it's a 4-star Iceman's. We cannot have it on it, but everything else is fine. The prefix is the least important of all. So that's the damage. Like, impact is low, but look how huge the dot is. So the dot is really huge, therefore impact on this weapon does not matter much. It's all being handled by the dot. And that's a legendary, so that's a very tanky one. And look how nice my dot is going on. That's all dot. Will there be one more tick or is it done with? Yeah, that's a problem. It's not always very smooth. But there is a lot of dot. Damage over time, by the way, that's dot. So those are the weapons and how they work on this build. There are some weak weapons, so this is weak. This will not work very great. That's a knife with a skin. They do not perform great. But everything else, like this will perform great, and they all on par. Ogwa Gauntlet, really good. One shot, almost everything. Great. Ultraside Terror Sword looks the coolest. So all of those weapons perform great, and now let's cover the special and the build. Starting with the special, that is before application of legendary perks. And legendary perks, extra endurance, agility, luck, intelligence, so total of 20 added to special, taking one for the team as we are tanking most of the time. And funky dads, as Ghoul do not really have a good way to provide poison resist when running regular armor. You can run this build with power armor, no problem, without any changes even necessary. I have power armors always on me. But it's nice, Ghoul don't really need power armor for most part, as radiation is good and not bad in case of a Ghoul. Under strength, brick wall, that's the most important Ghoul perk for melee. You will never get staggered. And stagger is the nemesis of every melee build. With brick wall, you will never get staggered. You just need the glow. I do have carry weight here, arm skipper. You can switch it for whatever else you want if you are not carrying spare weapons. There are some perks that you could consider. So quickly going over it. Bone Shatterer. Extra limb damage instead if you don't need a carry weight. Why I'm not using Bloodluster? It's unfortunately underperforming as it's adding damage to the bleed damage per second, but then cuts down duration. So total damage is almost the same as without this perk, with this perk or without. Does not really change overall damage. A little bit disappointed with this perk. Martial Artist, great to swing faster. Incisor, that covers most of your armor penetration needs. That's why I mentioned those anti-armor weapons are not helping much, but none of the prefixes is. Blocker, we want to be tanky. If we are not tanky, we are losing glow. And if we are losing glow, we are losing stagger immunity. So tankiness is very important on this build. Iron Fist, that's for all unarmed weapons. Barbarian, simple one. We already ran a lot of strength, that gives a lot of resistance. We'll show you my total resistances after perks. Extra damage from Number Cruncher. And that's the key, Rad Riva. With all classic melee weapons, it gives us constant flow of glow. Quite decent amount of glow per swing. That's why I prefer a fast swing melee weapons, and I add on top of that extra swing speed. More you swing, more glow you get. Dilsila, I hope it's working. But I cannot tell you 100% if that's working correctly with melee weapons. It's hard to observe. The tags under enemy health bars does not always appear as they supposed to, so I'm not sure how well this perk works. I hope it does. If it doesn't, you have an option here to go for even more tankiness with Refractor perk. You can get extra energy resistance if you choose to. And lastly, Breathe It In, that to achieve 0 rat resist. Not essential. You can run high rat resist, and Rad Riva will still work normally, so you can use power armor thanks to this perk. It will work normally. Breathe It In, just 1 point spare. I allocated it here. Endurance, very important category. As Feral Ghoul has penalties to health, we want to boost it as high as possible. So Life Giver, Ironclad for our resistances, Adamantium Skeleton, we don't want ever our limbs to be crippled. Adding Glow do not heal limbs, therefore we need it. We don't want to be forced to use Stimpaks when at 200% health. Fireproof, again tankiness. Thick Skin, tankiness. Unless you are running power armor, then switch it to bullet shield. And Glowing Gut. In case of emergency, I have Toxic Goo on me. Under Charisma, Strength in Numbers and Feral Presence. Quite cool, this Feral Presence, and we are Feral. One and only Feral card that I was able to use and make some kind of a difference, as it reduces the damage from bosses that they will do to you. A nice addition. Seems to be working from latest testing. Under Intelligence, a lot of extra damage from Science, Cryologist. And if you prefer like fire damage, you can swap as well for Pyromaniacs if you want to. There is Pyrotechnician that can increase your fire damage. For me, I have Makeshift Warrior to repair my weapons less and White Knight to repair my armor less. Good with Salt to keep food, although I was not using any damage boosters, non-strength boosters, no melee damage boosters. They do exist and they are awesome, so absolutely use them. You will do even more damage. Under Agility, to be even more tanky, we are investing in Evasive, Moving Target, and Hyper Reflexes. I gave up on Dodgy, as Dodgy goes in conflict with usage of Auto Axe, and Auto Axe remains to be number 1 DPS for melee. Therefore, yeah, I gave up on Dodgy. Goat Legs, since it was buffed, 1 point to be completely immune to full damage and no stagger on landing, it's really good now. Adrenaline, yeah, that just gives more damage, so why not? Under Lag, Bloody Mess, that's responsible for those explosions that were happening on enemies and can kill other enemies if they're nearby. Better Criticals, that's for occasional usage of ranged weapons. Sorry about the noise, the ghoul appeared in my camp. So occasional use of ranged weapons when necessary, you know, Scourge Beasts. You will need to force them to land. So ranged weapons may be necessary, so that's combined with 4-Leaf Clover As we have penalty to accuracy, but 4-leaf clover will still carry our hit chance. And we have one gun army at this moment, but that's only because I was testing on the Guardian. Normally it will be critical savvy here, as that's needed to be able to utilize 4-leaf clover. So crit savvy is essential for 4-leaf clover. 40 spots, that's awesome ghoul perk to increase damage for everyone. Junk shield for even more tankiness. Class freak, yeah, a lot of mutations, we're running 10. So we want to reduce side effects, ricochet for even more tankiness. You can see tankiness and damage, the two things this build does. And now, our mutations. So let's scroll down, you can see effects of all the perks and stuff, like Iron Fist is 86% unarmed damage. I can show you in here, those are the resistances at this build. Quite solid, I would say. As for torn armor, that is a light armor, so this is my resistance with light armor on. Light armor is important because it's a less cooldown on evasive effects. So light armor is good for evasion. Downside, light armor gives very low ricochet chance, but we'll live with that. Extra damage from science perks. Running Company T for my AP region. Without Company T, AP region is very low and auto-axe will not be an option. Mutations. Adrenal reaction for damage. Bare bones to don't fall down so fast. Carnivore to use the great 200% melee damage food. Chameleon because there is no side effects and we want to be able to use mutants prefix. Eagle Eyes for extra crit damage. Egghead for extra damage from science perks and more experience. Herd Mentality, free special. Marsupial for jumping. Scully Skin for tankiness. Speed Demon for speed. Talons for unarmed damage. Twisted Muscles for all melee damage and limb damage. And Unstable Isotope because I feel it fits the team. Extra radiation explosions on the Feral Ghoul. Not essential, this last one. I just feel like it fits the team of the Feral Ghoul. Now the gear. So you were able to already see lots of weapons about the auto-axe. This one from my testing on the Guardian is still doing a little bit more damage than Iceman's one. So Furious Pounders on auto-axe, I think that remains to be the top role, but difference is not much. It's very small difference between this one and this anti-armor electrified. So the mods are similar, but this one is anti-armor and Iceman's. Other one is Furious and Pounders. Slightly weaker, this one. Not big of a difference, not big. And this one is slowing down bosses, so maybe that's a worth trade-off. I don't know, but yeah, that's a trade-off. Slows down bosses, do a little bit less damage. Armor. So I enjoy my Torn Armor set with extra bleed damage added, but generally for the best legendary effects, Vanguards, Strength, some carry weight on the 3-star, and I have Bruisers, but that's barely noticeable. You are able to see the difference with the armor on and with the armor off. Tiny bit. Tiny bit. All this extra strength and all these Bruisers adds tiny bit. I'm endgame, so I care about any tiny bit. If you are not endgame yet, if you are a fresh ghoul, any armor gonna do. Just equip armor, and you golden. Under armor and backpack is high capacity as I need to carry stuff. Under armor, best one for melee is Secret Service under armor. That's the Secret Service one with strength, perception, endurance. So you get shielded mod for Secret Service under armor, and you are perfectly set for all the adventures in Appalachia. And this is everything you need to know to run your Feral Ghoul. I hope you will enjoy. I'm enjoying it. And if you will give it a shot, let me know. How do you feel about being a Feral Ghoul? And now as always, thank you all for watching and see you all in the next one.